Good morning, everybody. It's Tom Christie back in the painting studio, and this is the beginning of a new project, a different project. This is going to be a miniature Hen Mallard, and I'm making this for the Cajun Heritage Festival that's going to be held on June 5th, 6th, and 7th at the La Rose Civic Center in La Rose, Louisiana. I'm probably mispronouncing that, and I apologize. It's a great show. They have a very unique category of carving. It's called the cocktail class, and there's a requirement that it has to be 2.5 inches or smaller, not including a pin for a pintail, but 2.5 inches basically is the size. I've got this carved, and I put a little video together for how I carved this bird. It's out of one piece of wood, tupelo, and very miniature, tedious work, but I've got it carved, and now I want to get it painted. I just took a lag screw and used electrician's tape to tape it to the bottom of the bird so that I don't drive another screw into the bottom, because these actually get floated in a cocktail glass at the show as a part of the judging, and they're judged in the cocktail glass. Fun category, and then it's a fundraiser. They have an auction to auction off those birds, and I really like the category, so I wanted to do a bird for that. I'll post this video after the show is over, so that I don't like to show competition entries before the actual competition, just as a rule. Okay, I've got the bird carved. I'll show you how I did that, and we're going to start painting next. I think I thought I would put this on my YouTube channel because this is just another category of carving that newer carvers out there may be interested in. They don't take up much room on the shelf. You still get to do a bird. They're a lot quicker to do. Just some fun aspects of a miniature carving that might appeal to somebody out there. So I thought I'd feature it here. All right, let's get going on this project. Hey, just a quick update before we start the project. It's June 6th, and I just got word recently from a friend at the Louisiana show that my bird took third best of show in that category, so I'm thrilled about that. Carl Danos took first with the widgeon. Jude Bernay took second with the swan, and I took third with my Hen Mallard. There were 24 entries. And again, it was a privilege to be a part of that, and a privilege to be in that company. All great birds, all fun, and I'm very pleased with that result. So let's get carving. Okay, starting this new project, and this is going to be a 2.5-inch long cocktail Hen Mallard, and I've got the pattern drawn up. I saw a nice preening hen on the internet, made a pattern from her, then did a top-down pattern as close as I could get it there by transferring lines down. And you can see it's a tiny bird, so not sure how to carve this, but we're going to find out together. Should be fun. Okay, I've got my patterns laid out on a little piece of tupelo, and we'll give it a go here. Even though I have a 1/2-inch bandsaw blade, I was able to leave wood on either side so I could keep my fingers out of the way and bandsaw the side profile. Now I'm going to tack this back on top and do the top down cut. I wasn't comfortable doing any more cutting on the bandsaw, so I'm cutting this top down profile with my coping saw. Much safer. All right, I've got the top down profile cut out very carefully. And it's not perfect, but it gives me in the ballpark. Now I'll take that top scrap off. We can look at carving. Just a note, I put those small brads to tack on the top piece in areas where I'm not going to have carving, so that I won't have holes in such a small piece. The head's going to cross over the body in that position, so I need to remove wood on either side of that to begin to define the head. Since this is such a small piece, I'm going to use a ruby bit for my wood removal here instead of a burr that I would normally be using on a larger carving. But there's not much to hold on to here, and a ruby bit like this is much safer to have my hands close to. I still don't want to touch the ruby bit, obviously, while I'm grinding, but it gives me more control. So I've got a little pyramid-shaped medium grit ruby bit, and that's going to give me enough power here to start removing material. I need to lower this other side because the primary group on this side is going to be up in the air. And I'm going to apologize in advance. This is such a small carving, and I'm a one-man crew here, so I've just got a stationary video location for my tripod. So it's not going to be the best, but there should be enough that you can see what I'm doing here. So I've taken off wood on that side, and I've sketched in my head position here, and I'm going to start removing wood to begin to define the head. This is much more like sculpting. We're just removing wood until we get the right shape, and a lot of this is eyeball. I'm not going to do a lot of caliper work here. I just have in my mind's eye what I want to create, and I'm kind of going freestyle here, removing wood as I go, trying to be careful that I don't take too much wood off too quickly, obviously. And then I'm going to use my pencil periodically. I want to define where that other primary group is going to be so I don't cut too much wood off too quick there. So I'll use the edge of this bit. I'm running this at regular speed, by the way, and I just think it's so small. That'll be better than trying to speed everything up here. Now I'm taking material off that side of the scapulars to lower those down, kind of to the normal height of the scapulars on that side, because again, that wing is raised on the opposite side in this preening position. And I'm just rounding the back there. Now I'm kind of defining the underside of that primary group. You can see a little bit of a shadow there as it's lifted off the body. And this is a nice soft piece of Tupelo, nice and light, because this is going to be a bird that has to be floated, so I wanted to pick a piece of wood that was nice and light to begin with and easy to carve as well. Now I'm beginning to define the tail. And you can see I'm just using this same bit, that kind of cone-shaped or triangular-shaped ruby bit. It has grit on the end of it, so I can use the point of that bit to really dig in places where I need to, like defining that tail. Now I'm rounding this side. I'm just going to rough round things, and then we'll go back and do some more sketching to locate the side pockets. I'm going to have some speculum out on this bird as well. Now I'm working under the rump there, defining the lower edge of the tail. Both sides. I am leaving a little bit of wood, maybe an 1/8 inch of wood on the tail so it's not too fragile. This is meant to be a miniature version of kind of a working style decoy. So I'm going to leave wood there and not try to be too decorative with the tail feathers. Things are starting to shape up a little bit here, getting the rump nice and round. I've got some work to do on this head. You can see there's kind of a funky angle cut there due to the way the side profile was cut out. So I've left enough wood on this as I'm beginning to define where the cheeks meet the breast there and where the neck comes into the breast, so that, again, I don't remove too much wood too quickly. Now I want to begin to define that neck as it twists. This is in a preening position again, so the bird's head is twisted around where the bill is digging into the scapular feathers. And so I want to define a little bit of curvature in the neck that you would see in a preening bird like that. Now I'm narrowing up the front here where the bill goes into the scapulars. Rounding the breast. You can see a little bit of curvature there beginning to be defined in the neck as it ties into the breast here, a nice S shape from the back of the head as it's tucked into the scapulars. I'm rounding the bottom edges here. So all this work is being done with a bit, one bit, so you don't need a lot of tools. Again, just from a safety standpoint, you just need to re-grip constantly to keep your fingers out of the way of the spinning rotary tool. So I've got my head profile kind of cut on there. I use the pattern to give myself a nice side profile on the head as it's angled in that position. That way I got the right shape on the head itself from the side. Now I need to keep removing wood on this side as that cheek is tucked right against the breast, and then this bill is going to angle pretty sharply down into the scapulars of the back. Going to do a little more layout work here. I've got to create this opening under the chin of the bird. So I've kind of penciled that in using my pattern on both sides here. And I'm going to use a 1/8 inch diameter ruby bit that has grit on the end of the bit here. And I'm just slowly, very slowly pushing that through from both sides. And I want to meet in the middle and get a hole through here initially that gives me some room to start shaping things up and carving. So I've got that pushed through. Now I can begin to round the neck, and I'll work to open that up. It needs to have more shape to it than just like a drilled hole. So we'll get back to that later. You can see that curvature again. And the neck on this side kind of tucks under the cheek. So I'm forming that. Starting to define the head here. Just doing a little more pencil work. I need to narrow the front of the head up here and get that bill width set at the proper dimension. And I'm using my little 1/8 inch cylindrical bit to do that. Now I can use the edge of this bit or the side of it to begin to round the head, give it some definition. Since the head is integral to the body here, it's definitely a carving challenge I'm not used to. I normally carve the head separate from the body. If you've watched my other videos, you know that. But this is a sculptural challenge to try to visualize this head and make it come out of the wood without having a clean side cut profile, a top down profile determined. And really that's part of the fun as well. I'm just rounding the breast there. It punches out a little on this side because the neck pushes down and pushes the breast out on the side opposite of where the head is tucked. So I'm trying to get that in here accurately. You can see I'm going at this very slowly, and hopefully I won't put you to sleep here, but I'm going to include the whole grinding process here just so you get a feel for how I did this particular bird. I'm continuing to narrow up the front here and get the bill at the proper dimension. Rounding things away from that hole that we drilled to begin to shape up the neck as it goes down and around. I'm going to take a look at my pattern again here, and I need to see what kind of clearance I need to carve. And I want to begin to narrow the crown. So I use my pattern to kind of remind myself where the cheek is going to be and the eye position. That's critical. And now I'm sketching in kind of a top-down guideline for myself. I'm going to use my little 1/8 inch bit here and remove material on either side of the crown above the cheek and begin to define that cheek. And round it. I like this bit because it does have grit on the end of it, so it's very versatile. I can use it like an end mill like this to get into hard to reach places, and then I can use the side, which gives you a little more surface area to remove wood like this. You can begin to see the cheek being defined there. Starting to get a little definition to the head here and narrowing the front so that there's just going to be a portion of the bill that's out of the scapular feathers. The bulk of the bill is going to be kind of buried down in the preening activity that's going on in this carving. Now I'm just rounding the crown. Get that nice and round. Do a little more pencil work. So I've defined this area where the speculum is going to be pulled out from the wing. And I'm using my 1/8 inch cylindrical bit again, the edge of that, to begin to define the rear edge of the speculum and the edge of the tertials, and also this area from the tail that defines the upper side of the tail coverts and the rump here. Put a little bit of shape in this area. And I've also sketched in the side pocket. It's going to be dropped down just a bit on this side. So I need to round that a bit so that I have nice round looking feathers, and then dig in a little bit here and define the opening between the scapulars and the side pocket that's going to allow me to paint the speculum and a few wing feathers in there later. Cleaning up the back of the speculum here, and then defining the rear edge of the side pocket there. Same thing on this side. I'm going to have a little bit of speculum out on this side, but the wing is tucked down lower, so not as much speculum showing. So I'm just using the edge of this bit again to define the side pocket, and then remove material up here on the scapulars and where the wing tucks into the side pocket up here in front. And then round that side pocket so we have nice curvature there. I don't want to leave any flat sides vertically because there's nothing like a flat spot to detract from your carving, in my opinion, because birds that are fluffed up and preening, there's very minimal flat spots on the entire bird. Yes, it's possible you can have a flat spot on a bird. The bird can get in any position it wants, but generally, as a rule, I try to keep things nice and round, and that contributes to softness later when we paint this bird. It's going to be, I hope it will be looking soft. It's starting to shape up here. Going to remove some more material on the top of the tail here to define that a little bit more. Clean up this area under the primaries on both sides. And I want to define some tail coverts here so that I can paint those in later. This carving won't have a lot of feather detail other than what you've already seen. That's about the extent of the carving detail I'm going to put on this. It's more of a smoothie bird, and I'll do quite a bit of painting on it. All right, now I'm going to work on these other tertials. Lower this area a bit, define the rear edge of the tertials here. Around the scapular area. That's starting to shape up. And this is all real time, so it's taken that amount of time to do this carving. That's one of the benefits of these miniatures. You can practice a lot of things very quickly. This is where I want the other speculum poking out on this side. And there's the rear edge of the side pocket. So I'm going to take my tool here, define the rear edge of the tertials, put some separation between the primaries over there and the tertials, and then open up this area where the wing tucks into the side pocket, and create a little area here where I can put a nice piece of blue speculum on that side of the bird, just to heighten the interest on that side.
All right, I use this little flame-shaped ruby bit to really go around the eye, form the eye, do the detail on the bill. Get that nailed down. Same thing on this side. And just use this to get into some of the tight spots. And now I'm going over it with 150 grit sandpaper, and I'm just going to smooth everything out, do some final shaping when it's starting to take shape.
Now I'm just sealing the bird up with semi-gloss Prolux, and I've struck a water line around the base there, because in the category that this is going to be in, it's a fundraiser cocktail class. They actually float these upright in a cocktail glass. So we'll check flotation next. All right, let's give this Hen Mallard a float test. I've got a cocktail glass from the Ohio Decoy Collectors and Carvers Association. Seems appropriate. Put her in there. I'm going to turn the glass to the side so we can see a little better. It looks like she's riding right on the line. Let's get a little close up here. It looks really good. I don't think I'm going to have to add any weights. It doesn't have to self-right, thankfully, but she looks really comfortable there. Outstanding. Okay, that completes the carving of the miniature cocktail bird, the Hen Mallard, in a preening position. And next time, I'll go into how I painted that bird. We'll go step by step. Very small detail, so there's only so much painting you can put on a miniature that big. 2.5 inches long. Takes a steady hand. So we'll do that next. I hope you come back. I hope this has been valuable in some way, and you can use some of what I've demonstrated in your own carving. Until then, Tom Christie signing out.